Hi, this is Sergeant Betsy Brantner Smith with the National Police Association, and this is the NPA report. I am so excited to have a national celebrity and yet a local for me guest on today, and that is Sheriff Mark Lamb from Pinal County, Arizona. He's a fellow cop, but he's also a patriot and a terrifically interesting guy. Sheriff Lamb, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Betsy. I appreciate you having me on.
So one of the things I want to talk about, there's a lot of talk right now in the media, and a lot of people don't really understand, unless you live down here, what's happening at our southern border under the new administration. Sheriff, is there a crisis at the southern border?
Oh, absolutely. There's a crisis. Look, take the politics out of this. This is a crisis. I am telling you, as a sheriff who works down here, and what we're doing every day, this administration is not fixing the problem. They're actually throwing gas on the problem every day. It's getting worse and worse. And their rhetoric that they've had and that they continue to have is what continues to bring people here. And then they want to try to protect these borders, but they're not. They're not doing it. They're not sending people back like they say they are. The children are going to just keep coming, especially when you say you're not going to turn them away. And so, yeah, it's a crisis. We're dealing with it. For anybody who doesn't know where my county is, we are located between Phoenix and Tucson, and we're about 60 miles off the border down in the south area of our county where we have the most issues. And we can go out every day right now, and we can find 20, 30 folks out in the desert. We've had over 40 pursuits that have ended in bailouts in the last 2 months. The other day we had to stick a dog on the driver, and then there was 7 illegals in that one. 3 of them were minors. So yeah, it's an issue for us, and it's getting worse and worse. And I'll say this, and I'll turn it back over to you: is this is not about politics. If you care about human beings and human rights, then you should absolutely care about border security, because these people's rights are being violated by the cartel every day. The women are being raped, the children are being used as pawns, and the men are being extorted, being forced to carry drugs. They're paying exorbitant amounts to the cartel, and our policies are only enriching the cartels and putting the people at more risk. And so it's something that we are strongly passionate about, and we're trying to protect them.
And that's something I want people to really understand, Sheriff, is the hand that the cartels have in our crisis at the border, and also the exploitation of especially women and children. But because people think, and I used to think this when I lived up north, that, oh, these are just people who are trying to come here to get jobs and have a better life, and they're coming from places where they don't have much opportunity. That's not much of the reality, is it?
No, it's not. And a lot of the folks that come into our county are men. There are younger men to middle-aged men, not always with the best intentions. Yeah, there are good people that are trying to come here to make a better life for themselves. And we're not saying don't do that. We're just saying follow the law, follow the way it's set up. Look, I always equate it to this for those people who might not live here in Arizona. There are good people that drink and drive. When you get caught, you're going to get a DUI. It doesn't make you any less of a good person. I can't just say, well, since you're a good person, I'm not going to charge you with the DUI. The fact of the matter is, it's against the law, as it is against the law to come into this country illegally. And what we're asking is that the federal government respect that, and also that that those folks who want to come here and make a better life for themselves respect it as well, and go through the proper process. It's not fair to those people who have paid thousands of dollars to do it right and spent years waiting for their visas. This is a thumbing our noses in their faces as well. And we as a country cannot handle unchecked immigration. It will hurt us economically. It'll hurt our communities, and it's hurting them as well.
And one of the groups of people that it hurts is the children. And we heard a lot of talk about kids in cages and this and that, but the exploitation of children, the sexual exploitation of children. People don't like to hear about this. They don't like to talk about this, but children and women, they're being raped, they're being sexually exploited by the cartels and at our borders every single day, aren't they? It's horrible.
Yeah, and then our president says, well, we're not turning away any families or children. So what does the cartel do? The cartel's buying children or stealing children. And then they're saying, here, take this kid across the border with you. They won't turn you away. And that's what's happening. And then as soon as they get on the other side, they just dump the kids. And then you have families that are actually, what kind of parent does this? But they are sending their children up here to this country for a better life. And I mean, that's horrible parenting, but you don't hear anybody talking about that.
No,
All we hear about is that we don't want to have kids in cages. And where are those same congressmen and women now that were there a year ago trashing our president? They're nowhere to be found. Mum's the word with them, and that's shameful.
I talk to so many people who say you're lying. There's no parent that would turn their child over to the cartel to be used again and again and again for these fake families that we have over the, crossing the border. And yet that's exactly what happens, isn't it?
Absolutely. Look, parents will sell their kids for drugs. Don't think that a parent won't send their kid up here unaccompanied to this country. Look, we've seen the worst of the worst of human beings. So when people tell me that, oh no, somebody won't do that, yes, humans are capable of doing that and much worse.
And when we talk about the cartels, and people hear us talk about the cartels and the coyotes, when we talk about the cartels, because again, people see it in the movies or on TV, and they think, oh, these are just drug dealers. They are incredibly powerful, and they're incredibly dangerous, not just to Mexican law enforcement, to American law enforcement, aren't they?
Yeah, they're very sophisticated. They have all the bells and whistles and tools that we have, plus some. They have the firepower. I mean, they have billions and billions of dollars that now our government is only, the decisions they've made and the policies they've put in place are only adding to the wealth of these cartels. They're aiding and abetting these cartels, and they're making their job super easy. Because what they'll do is send kids up, and now all the Border Patrol and ICE are forward deployed to deal with those kids and families, and it leaves wide open those desert areas that we struggle with. And these people are coming in unchecked into our country. And so the cartels are very sophisticated, very powerful. They have a lot of money, and it is something that we struggle to stay ahead of, or at least try to combat. And now when you do this, you're putting us behind the eight ball at a serious disadvantage with these policies changes.
Now, one of the other things the defund the police movement has managed
Which
to
is dumb, by the way.
exactly. And and you can count this under the arm of cancel culture, if you will. They were able to get rid of a show that was wildly popular in America, and that it was a show called Live PD, and that is so unfortunate. Now you're working on a project that I'm pretty excited about. That might take that Live PD audience and make them a little happy. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I'm a sheriff and I refuse to be canceled. And so I still want to have a voice for law enforcement. So putting a show together called American Sheriff. It's going to be on americansheriff.com. If you go there now, you're only going to see my book. But in May, that's going to transition over to a subscription site. We're going to be charging, I think, $5.99 a month or $5 a month. And we'll have videos just like what you've been used to, on what you've seen on other shows on TV. I won't be live, but we're going to be putting some great packages together. And we're going to go to sheriff's offices across this country, and we're going to showcase the good men and women that put on the badge. We're going to humanize the badge. We're going to talk to sheriffs about what they do and the challenges they face in their communities. And it is going to be a great show. I hope that everybody will log on. It's going to be for $6 a month, basically a couple monsters. If you just don't buy two monsters in one day, because that's what I do. And put your money towards this subscription site, and we're going to put out about 10 videos a week. So you're going to get about 40 to 50 videos a month for your $5. It's going to be a good deal, and it's going to put you back in the front seat with us in law enforcement. And we're going to have some fun, and we're going to showcase all the work that we do, the good and the bad.
And that's the thing is the police reality television, and I was involved in that as well. It does what you just said. It showcases what American law enforcement deals with, the good, the bad, the ugly, and yes, the humorous. And I want people to understand that there's a lot of differences between a sheriff and a sheriff's office and a police department. And I know you work well with, a lot of our police chiefs around Arizona and around the country, but talk about some of the differences in being a sheriff as opposed to being a city cop and a city police chief.
Look, I tip my hat to anybody who puts on the badge, police, deputies, everybody. I respect them, and I fight and I try to be a solid voice of freedom and patriotism and for law enforcement. So this show that I'm doing is not designed to take away from any police. It is just much easier to get in with sheriffs because we're elected by the people. We don't have all the hoops and the obstacles to climb over to be able to do something like this. Now, the difference really is that sheriffs are elected by the people. We don't work for anybody. We don't work for a city council. We don't work for mayors. We work for the people. And there is beauty and there's something strong about that. We are the last line of defense in law enforcement, and your sheriffs become the ultimate last line of defense for protecting the people's rights, protecting us from the bad guys and from government overreach. And so we really want to showcase the good men and women that are working as sheriffs across this country. And this is designed not just to focus on them. Hopefully it'll bring a positive light to all law enforcement and police, because inevitably you're going to show the good relationships we have with our local agencies and our local partners and the good work they do as well.
Well, and the good relationships that we have with our citizens as well. And I think that's something I know that Pinal County, you really excel at that. And a lot of sheriff's departments
Thank you.
do, where they really excel at involving their citizens. You have some different volunteer groups, right? That a lot of sheriff's departments have.
Yeah, we've got a very robust posse. We have a patrol posse where they can actually we put them through about 350 hours of training. They get a take home car. They wear a uniform. They have a gun and they help us respond to calls. Now, they have no arresting authority, but they help us transport prisoners. And in a county the size of the state of Connecticut, that's important for us. They do about 1,800 hours a month for us, which is huge. We have a citizens on patrol, which is like a block watch. And we've given them a little bit more flexibility. And then I've also started civilians posse. And what that is designed to do is kind of temper some of the frustration that we're feeling as Americans in this country and help them understand what our resources are and how they can help the sheriff's office. And should an emergency arise, whether it's a flood or a fire or heaven forbid, any other type of insurrection, where I need to call on the people to assist us, I can do that. I'll have a list of people that I can do that, that I can call on.
Now, Sheriff, one of the things about you, and people see you all the time on Fox News and in other media outlets, you're very outspoken. And one of the things that you're very outspoken about is America. You are incredibly patriotic, your love for this country. And that's what you wrote a book, right? Called American Sheriff. That you are a lover of this country. Has that been difficult as a law enforcement leader to be able to do that?
For me, it's not difficult because I love freedom so much, and I'm unapologetically American, and I will do whatever it takes to protect America, and I don't care what negativity that brings because I feel like I'm standing up for the right thing and doing the right thing. And so for me, it's easy, but I will tell you, it doesn't come without its heat. I had a friend tell me, and I'm going to do a Instagram post today, as a matter of fact, and you'll see it come out. I had a friend who told me one time, he's like, Mark, it doesn't do any good to have an FU fastball if you never throw it. So don't be afraid to throw your fastball. And I'm not. Like, I throw fastballs left and right. And I try to do it with facts and with a heart. And hopefully people can see the love that I have for this country. I'm not doing it to be defiant. I'm doing it to protect what I believe is my job. As a sheriff, I swore an oath to defend and protect the Constitution of the United States and the people that live in my county. And I will do it, and no matter how hard it is. And I was raised as a person who you were raised to do what was right, regardless of the cost. And you mentioned my book, American Sheriff: Traditional Values in a Modern World. I'm no author, but hopefully you'll pick it up, take a look at it. It's really just a normal person talking about how my love for this country, what's developed, what I've gone through, and hopefully I can impart some of the things that, some of the values that have helped me in life, and hopefully you can use it in your life. You can get it at Amazon, or for now, you can get it at americansheriff.com. And even when we start our subscription site, you'll still be able to buy that book on americansheriff.com.
Now, when you talked about something that we all did when we became law enforcement officers, and that's we swore an oath to defend and protect the American Constitution. One of those constitutional rights that you and I both revere is really under attack right now, and that's the Second Amendment. And the anti-Second Amendment people will talk about, well, we're trying to save lives, prevent crime, and this and that by taking more guns off the street. How do you react to that?
Well, first of all, that's an unfactual argument on their part. They want to play on your emotions, but they're not talking about the facts. The facts are, and the FBI just released their statistics for 2019. The facts are that in this country, people who were killed by a rifle, or in many cases, what they deem as, I hate this term, but assault rifle, were only about 350 murders committed by rifles. Do you know how many there were that were committed by feet and hands and feet? There was over 600. Do you know how many that were committed by a knife? 1,400. So they don't have their facts straight. Only three in a country with 350 million people. There was only 350 deaths committed with, or murders committed with, a rifle. So their facts don't support their narrative. The fact of the matter is, guns don't hurt people. People hurt people. And that's the issue here. Our politicians want to use that to further their political agenda. Any American who can't look at this and say that they're trying to take something away from me, how important is that I should try to protect that? This is the only thing standing in the way of the rest of the Constitution. They just tore apart the First Amendment last year, and they continue to do that. And they want to continue to tear away at your constitutional rights. And they know that Second Amendment stands in the way of that. So they're playing on emotions. They have no factual support for what they're trying to push right now. They just want it. They want to unarm the population. And one last thing, when you pass gun legislation and gun laws, you're not taking the guns out of the hands of the criminals. You're taking them out of the hands of the good people that live in this country. Those criminals are going to continue to find guns. They're going to continue to commit crimes. And all they're doing is putting us at risk as American citizens.
Absolutely. Well said. Sheriff, how did American law enforcement get so politicized? How did that happen in the last year?
It's just a lot of people wanting to maintain their jobs. Look, I'm not trying to knock any chiefs of police, but there was a lot of guys that kind of kowtowed to this cancel culture, and these folks who were pushing a false narrative, who were saying stupid stuff like defund the police. And those agencies that have defunded their police are now paying more money than what they were before they defunded them. So we know that this is a ridiculous concept. But we had a lot of people that just got bullied, and it hurt local law enforcement. We had a lot of people not stand up and be a voice for law enforcement. But having said all of that, I still want to tell you that 70 to 80%, no matter what race you talk to, I think everything falls between 70 and 80%, depending on the race, still support law enforcement in this country. Do not believe the media and the politicians when they tell you that the police is the problem, because that's not the truth. And the fact of the matter is, the average American still believes in law enforcement and in the rule of law. So it's our job as leaders to push through that, and to not kowtow to these people and do what they want us to do and let them cancel us out. We've got to stand tall. We've got to stand strong and keep our feet firmly planted on this American soil.
Absolutely. And Sheriff, speaking of leadership, you're involved in a group of leaders called Protect America Now. Can you talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, thank you, Benson, for bringing that up. As sheriffs, we recognize, I already told you, I believe that we're the last line of defense, and we are elected by the people for the people. And we take that serious, we the people. So I put a group of sheriffs together, and it's growing every day. sheriffs who want to stand up for the rule of law, who are going to fight against bad policies and bad politicians in their areas, and to stand up for the Constitution and protect those constitutional rights and the people in their communities. And so we put this together. We've been raising money because unfortunately a dog that's all bark, no bite does no good. And so we need to be able to bring a hammer with us when we show up to support other sheriffs. And you can only do that with money. Politicians, that's what they respond to. If you affect their vote, they and you jeopardize their ability to maintain power, then that has power, and that's what we want to do. So go to protectamericanow.com, and you can actually contribute to our organization. But we're going to support one another, and we're going to be fighting battles across this country, especially now as they're just the other day they took all the sheriffs off this little committee for the border security. They just sent a letter saying, hey, thanks, but you're no longer needed anymore. Why? Because they don't want the truth. It's inconvenient for them, and they don't want sheriffs to be able to do that. So we need to get out and get that word out ourselves. And this is just one of the groups that we're going to do it with. So hopefully you'll get on, support us. Both, you can support us by donating, and you can also just support us by being part of this organization.
Sheriff Mark Lamb, Pinal County, Arizona, I can't thank you enough for spending time with me. And if you would like more information about the National Police Association, visit us at nationalpolice.org.
This year, over 50,000 law enforcement officers have been assaulted while on duty. A vast number of these attacks were filmed and uploaded to social media in the pursuit of likes and attention.
What they want to do is film you instead of like, what can I do to help this officer?
Together, we can change this disturbing trend.
If that individual would have hit the right spot, it could have been it for me. Last time I would have saw my wife, my kids.
I'm Mike Solon. Law enforcement officers need your support. If you see an officer under attack, then follow these simple steps in order to help. 1. Call 911 and give the officer's exact location. 2. Ask the officer if you can assist. If the officer accepts, then do whatever you can do to safely help. 3. If the officer declines, then start filming and be a good witness. It's time to stop filming and start helping.